Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with DrinkABeerandPlayAGame, and today we're checking out Metroid for the NES.
Originally released in 1986, this was developed and published by Nintendo. Hey, it was produced by Gunpei Yokoi.
Right, he's the guy who did the Game Boy.
And the Bandai Wonderswan.
Ow!
I respected the Game Boy. I don't respect the second thing you said.
But Brian... Anyway, this thing got ported again, like almost everywhere, including... I think it originally came out in the Famicom Disk System, and then was on the NES, and the Game Boy Advance, and eShops, and blah-de-blah, blah-de-blah. It's freaking everywhere. It's the start of a long-running series, just like a lot of these best-of games, and does this game really hold up compared to the later entries? Let's find out.
It sure does. I'm so excited. I love this game.
Well, there's a spoiler for you.
I mean, we'll see.
The graphics. Right off the bat, this is going to look different than most NES games you were playing at the time. We just got done reviewing Legend of Zelda and Super Mario Bros. 3, and they're bright, colorful, kind of cheery, almost kiddie-ish. And then comes this game, which is heavily inspired by the Alien franchise, and draws a lot of its artistic inspiration from H.R. Geiger. I mean, as a kid, this game was actually kind of freaky. You had that desolate cavern feel as you were going through and being attacked by a ton of different creatures. I thought there was more than there actually are in the game, but because you're always bombarded and kind of moving fast, I guess I just had a trick of the eye when I was playing, but still, we both love the way this looks. The colors shown are very vibrant, and we love the three main bosses that you fight throughout the game. So, I gave it an 8, and Jim gave it a 7. When it comes to beer, I'm just going to add 1 for Jim not giving it an 8.
Right, there's no backgrounds.
But that's why it's so scary.
The sound. I guess we'll start with the easy one with the sound effects, because there's actually a pretty decent amount of it. You get different sound effects for different weapons, for when you do different suit power-ups, and you get that classic jingle for when you get an upgrade. Besides that, let's talk about the music, and holy crap is the music in this game good. It's so damn iconic, and it starts off with that first song that's kind of almost heroic and like hopeful. Like, yeah, I'm gonna explore this, world and everything like that. And then as you get deeper and deeper in, it just gets more ominous and scary. And you have the boss fight music, which is just like, oh god, shit just got real. Just the game does a great job of building an atmosphere, while still maintaining some really well-composed music, so we both gave it 9s. And when it comes to beer, you don't need any.
The control. For a game that offers so many different power-ups and suit power-ups, as Jim already mentioned, they could have really screwed this game up. Luckily for us, they didn't. It's your basic platforming shooter with the option to switch over to rockets with the select button. Everything else is basically what you would expect, except you need to figure out how to utilize your screw attack, once you find the power of course, and when you're rolling to drop the landmines. Now, no other game at the time was really utilizing this duck button for a roll, and it's a mechanic we grew to love. There's nothing really here I can say that we hated about the control. The only area where we might have the tiniest complaint is the jumping, because to us it felt kind of pressure sensitive, meaning if you press down harder on the controller then you would jump a little bit higher, and it always made us seem like if we missed a jump, it was due to the control, not necessarily from how we're trying to actually play or where we execute the jump from. I know, there are people that can speedrun this game in 15 minutes and hit every jump perfectly. We're not those people, so that is just the absolute minorest gripe.
Right!
You can talk about how some people learn to exploit the game so that after they jump through the landmine, they can do like a super jump to get even higher spots, and then do a jump after rolling into the ball attack so you can like kind of jump out of the way of certain stuff when you memorize it all.
You mean like the speedrunners I just referenced who could do it in 15 minutes?
Oh yeah!
Damn it! So, with that being said, we both gave it an 8. Well above average. It's just not at that perfect level because of the little bit of issues with the jump. When it comes to beer, I'm gonna add 1 for Jim never listening.
The gameplay.
Jim, don't forget to mention the power-ups.
Jesus Christ.
I like the power-ups. Screw attack.
God damn it. Yeah, let's start with that. And there are a ton of power-ups in this game. Sure, it's not as robust as it gets to later in the series, but what a foundation. You get your wave attack, you get your freeze attack, you get the screw attack, you get the bombs you can lay when you're in rolling mode, you get the environmental suits, you get the boots to let you jump a little bit better. You just get, there's so much crap to find. And when it comes to finding stuff, everyone always talks about the exploration part of this game, which is really one of the biggest parts of it. And one of the biggest annoyances with the game is that there's no in-game map. So, I remember playing this for the first time about 10 years ago and absolutely hating it. Because I was just getting so frustrated going, where the fuck do I go? I don't even know which ones I hit. And I would keep going back to ones I'd hit beforehand, and I was kind of losing my mind. So I know players from back in the day would get these grid sheets and make their own maps for everything, which you almost pretty much needed.
I did that! I had to get to Ridley somehow.
That is true. And honestly, at this point, I mean, we're under a time crunch to get some videos out, so I followed along to a couple walkthroughs, which even then I was still getting lost, and I was following along to people. They're just the ways so many of these different levels and rooms are interconnected in different unique ways. It's kind of awe-inspiring, just the amount of thought they put into it. And this world is gigantic. There is so many rooms, so many different levels, so much stuff to find. It's really impressive when you come down to think about it for an 8-bit system. A thing that people don't really talk about a lot is just how good of a running gun this is, though, too. When people talk about great running guns, they never really mention Metroid, which is a shame. Because if you know where you're going, then the game just becomes pixel-perfect platforming and shooting. And it's really good at that, too. You need to have different strategies for all the different enemies, because some you just can't straight up shoot because they're too tiny, or they go in a crazy motion. So, it's one of those games that the combat is just as fun as everything else, even though everyone talks about the exploration part. All the rambling aside, when it comes to scores, we both gave it 9s. The only reason I didn't go with 10 is just because of the lack of the in-game map. And when it comes to beer, I'll just give it 1 beer because you're going to need something to hydrate you with all the goddamn crap there is to explore. Oh, and the boss fights are fun too!
The originality, holy hot dog shit, this one has a lot. That might come to a surprise because a game like this that took so much inspiration from Pitfall 2, you know, with the open caverns, the lack of map, it still offered enough new. Let's start with the power-ups. For me personally, this game felt like a revolution in the way that you could pick up your power-ups and how you play the game itself. Now what I mean by that is most other platformers, especially running gunners, you would get a power-up right before a boss and you would probably get a level to test it out and then you would use it. This game, you have the option to pick things up or not pick things up, but as Jim said, with that exploration and that lack of being linear, how you go about playing the game is completely up to you. So that felt like a brand new experience. And one interesting thing to note, this game could arguably have been a big inspiration for Mega Man in the way that you collect up the power-ups for him. So, that may or may not be a stretch to some people, but let's put all that aside. The atmosphere, as I said, this felt like a new type of game. Sure, you had Castlevania for the horror franchise, but nothing that really dove into that alien-esque feel that I mentioned during the graphics. And finally, and I'm sure someone's going to correct us because they always do, Samus is arguably the first female protagonist that had such a major role in a video game. And it came to a surprise to most people who were able to get that final ending if you beat the game fast enough and you saw her standing there in a bikini. I know me and my friends were shocked, and you know what? She's a goddamn badass. Not saying there haven't been other female video game characters
With titties.
Yes, Jim. Damn it! Not saying there hasn't been other female video game characters, but none that had such an impact like she did. So when it comes to scores, we both gave it 8s. This is well above average. It might have used some of the things we've seen from Pitfall 2 and other platformers and shooters of the time, but it feels like a brand new experience.
Alright, when it comes to replayability, at its core again, there isn't that much here, because there's only really one ending. But, well, I guess if you want to be technical, there's a couple different endings based on how fast and how many items you get. So, your reward for that is a different level of nakedosity for Samus at the end of the game. Oh boy!
Damn it, Jim.
Pixel titties!
I guess it's a good thing you never beat this as a kid, because you would probably stayed on that screen for a whole 2 minutes.
If I beat the game, I would have been beating something else, if you get my drift.
Damn it, that's exactly what I... Be subtle!
But anyway, at the end of the day, the real replayability from this game comes from you. It really depends on the player. Depends on how much of the game you want to explore, because there's just so much here. If you want to try and explore and get 100% of the items, or try to explore every single goddamn room, you're free to do it, because you can basically go through the game and beat it however you want. And the game's so fun and it's such a good adventure that you're going to want to do it. Like, it's not a game you're going to just want to play once and be like, oh, alright, I'm done. I've played my Metroid. Like, nah, it's really that kind of engrossing experience that'll make you want to come back and explore everything. So, at the end of the day, we gave it 6s. And when it comes to beer, I'll just add 1 beer for progressive nudity.
I don't accept that.
Well, didn't get hit.
Overall, this is another excellent NES game. And I'm sure we sound like broken records saying that, because after all, we are doing the best NES games. However, for me personally, this is easily in my top 5 as my favorite NES games of all time. The atmosphere, as Jim mentioned, the seamless running gunning through the game, and the major aspect that makes everyone love this, the exploration. There's something to this game that we can understand people who might pick it up, play it for 20 minutes, get frustrated, they don't know where they're going, and just put it down and never come back to it. But for those of you who stuck with it, probably need a guide at this day and age, or at least a map, you know there's a lot of fun to be had. You definitely can't be a slouch when you're playing this game, because it can be a little difficult, especially when you have that quicksand and those Metroids start going after you. It can be a pain in the dick.
Fuck that level before Mother Brain. Jesus Christ!
Exactly. So, with all that being said, we both gave it a 9. And when we round all of our scores together, it comes out to an 8.4. To my surprise, this is lower than Legend of Zelda, because me personally, I like this one better, but with the way we score things, it's understandable, and it's probably the most appropriate place for it. In our eyes, this is a no-brainer. If you own an NES, get it, but like I said, it is very specific. It can be a little niche to some people who might not like this style. So, if you can find it cheap enough, go get at least 1 copy. When it comes to beer pairing, I'm going to go with the Sierra Blanca Brewing Company's Alien Imperial Stout. This is a Russian Imperial Stout coming in at 7.2%, and I always like to drink these type of Imperial Stouts when playing through a game like this. You're going to need something that's going to give you plenty of flavor but have enough alcohol to keep you calm and to keep your nerves down when you do fail, because you will fail multiple times in this game. There's a lot of coffee and a lot of chocolate to this beer, so make sure you grab at least a bottle or 2 if you're lucky enough to find it. But remember to drink your beers and play your games responsibly. As always, guys, thanks for checking out this video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure you give us a thumbs up, leave some comments, or better yet, why not subscribe? Till next time, guys, cheers.